they can't get it. And there's ethanol plants all around them. That's you know, it's like if they could get that, just bring it back here, you know.
Wow.
And it's the same with everything. You know?
That's what the naysayers don't understand. Steve.
You can have it.
The flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty. and justice.
Everybody, I'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. I will take a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second approving agenda minutes. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Rich?
I didn't put the ice on the road this morning. You know, a little scraping, there's a little bad spot outside of town, but I think other than that, bridges have a little on. Not much to report. I'm gonna hit back on these other local paving projects now that the budget stuff has been submitted. Check with WHKS on our local bridges that we had them doing design, see what their lettings are looking like for those this week, so. And then I'll try to get that advertisement out for our office assistant up there. So just a couple things working on up there.
On our bridge project. Raven and 340th. South County line. What's that bridge, I think called? I just got asked about that. Did I go enough? So it was embargo too. I didn't know if that was on the list.
I know it's on our small, it's in our kickoff list
Is it?
somewhere. I'd have to look at the envelope. Pretty sure if it's embargoed and it's a short bridge, it's probably,
Yeah, it's a short bridge. It's narrow. Embargo.
it's probably on our list. I'll have to look at it for sure. I don't have it with me today. Up to everything upstairs. But I'm sure if it's posted, we've got it in our 5-year plan somewhere.
Did Steve or Scott will listen get a hold of you about a pipe that's all plugged up? Up in the, it's on the maintenance road.
Yeah, we went up there Friday.
Yeah,
I went up there and had him blade it, but he said I thought there was a hole in the pipe, and I looked in the pipe and
it's a 12-inch pipe they was telling. I don't know exactly what they're doing.
there was a and it's Eagle Lane, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't look at the intersection pipe, but then we went down further where there was a cross pipe. I looked in, it was clean and there wasn't a hole, so I must.
Maybe it's a different one, but anyway, it was, I don't know what they wanted. Didn't really care about space. They could clean the ditch.
Oh, clean the ditch.
Tiling.
Didn't have any. I don't remember.
It's fairly close to that drainage ditch.
Okay, I don't remember him talking to me about cleaning the ditch.
That's
I
what
know
he's
that
telling me.
you had brought up about blading that road once, and we did that. And something about a hole in the culvert, but I couldn't find a hole in the culvert, so we just went out and bladed it.
Or something over that kind of looked like needle for the plug. Like I say, I haven't been.
Well, I didn't see anything that was plugged when I went up there. Yeah, 12 inches too small anyway, but maybe find out from him again. Or he hasn't.
Tiling there. The ditch, the drainage ditch, but.
I don't recall any conversation on that. So, but if he calls, you take a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you, Rich.
We got a resolution on it.
Yeah. I'm going to that next.
Okay.
You got that resolution? Resolution 2023-11, whereas the voters of Worth County and cities within the county have voted to enact a 1-cent local option sales tax in accordance with Iowa Code 423B, and whereas the revenue derived from the tax is used for road and bridge improvements, public safety facilities, and property tax relief, and whereas the residents of Worth County have grown to rely on these revenues as a means to reduce property tax, and whereas the 2023 legislative session has seen the introduction of SF 550, which proposes to convert the local option sales tax efforts into a statewide sales tax and impose the local option sales tax in every jurisdiction, thereby triggering the constitutional amendment to require an allocation of 3/8 of a cent to the Iowa Water and Land Legacy I Will Trust Fund. And whereas SF 550 proposed to backfill revenue lost to the proposal, there are concerns of the legislature's ability to continue backfilling revenues. And whereas voters across Iowa have voted to either implement a local option sales tax or not to do so. And whereas voters across Iowa have voted to utilize the local option sales tax, have approved revenue purposes statements. And whereas SF 550 also sunsets these provisions on January 1st, 2025, after which no jurisdiction will have the authority to take either a loss proposal or revenue purpose statement to a vote, essentially deleting the local government's ability to have local option sales tax. Therefore, the Worth County Board of Supervisors would like to express their support of the current local option sales tax. The current law best represents the interests of voters and furthers the reduction of property taxes, county and the Iowa legislature. The Board of Supervisors unanimously supports the Iowa Water and Land Legacy I Will Trust Fund. However, SF 550 as currently written would not only strip the county of control over local option sales tax revenues, but would effectively disregard the will of the voters. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2023-11?
I'll motion to approve resolution 2023-11.
Is there a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Smeedy?
Aye.
Stone?
Aye.
Lowberg? Aye. Resolution is duly adopted. Here we go, Paul. On the drainage. Yep. I see they were stamped. You guys had a chance to look them over. If so, I'll take a motion to approve the stamped warrants.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Then I will take a motion to engage Robert Goodwin as the attorney for Drainage District number 72 regarding the notice of appeal by the landowners.
Just the guy that did the other one, or is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll motion to engage Robert Goodwin to.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Claims.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any further discussion on them? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to approve payroll claims.
There's a second.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the payroll claims. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I will take a motion to approve the clerk of court report.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on it? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any place on this puppy? Oh. We have a Mark Eilertson, secondary roads, a wage increase to $27.49 per hour. Is there a
Yes,
mo-
stepping up to do more than the county clerk, we're having a hard time finding one. Our last week, our book always said $1 more an hour, but I think it's worth more than that, so I'm gonna bump him up a little bit more. He's been doing a heck of a job for us for stepping up, so I think he deserves it.
Making a motion to approve.
Your second?
I'll second him.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Any place again on here?
You skip the next two.
Oh. Did you guys have a chance to read through the cost advisory services?
Yeah.
Any questions about it?
Is this, I know I've seen this before, but I can't remember. Yeah, is this for public health,
Yes.
public health side, right? Okay, that's just double check. I know I've seen, it. I just wanted to check, I was looking at the right thing. I'll motion to approve the cost advisory contract.
Is there a second? I have a motion, a second to approve the cost advisory services. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. Not 9 AM
I
yet.
say you're doing too good this morning.
Yeah, I gotta slow down. And Elizabeth, does she happen to be here yet? 9:15, okay. So I guess we go down to board appointments. Anything on Nikon?
Still waiting on Tim, but I did think, eminent domain, you know, there's a new realtor that just moved into Manly last summer. So I think I might reach out to her and ask her if she'd be interested. She's realtor with, Dane Fisher
Oh, yeah.
over in Clear Lake, so Herman Mason, wherever that. Just thinking, yeah, you know, maybe you could ask her, I just forgot about her being a realtor, so I drove by there the other day.
Pretty much moved around.
I sent,
Not her, yeah, one of the, yeah, work there. Yeah.
I sent Myron a text and he hasn't replied yet. If there's anybody still available in the county,
Right,
you know,
honestly, I just thought that's just one that I thought of.
NICOG, anything?
No, so haven't heard back from Tim either.
Okay,
Well, he was checking with council to see if somebody would want to take it. I'll wait to hear from him. I'll reach out to him.
or any other city?
That's from conflict with some of the meeting nights is the biggest thing.
Well, that's the two that I found. Conflict with Northern was conflict with Kansas. So,
And Manly might get that once, maybe a year, just depends. There's a person 15. So it just kind of depends how that plays out, but so hopefully somebody will volunteer.
gotcha. Melissa, are you on?
Morning.
We're not getting
Okay,
audio.
I am going to,
Maybe our end, hold on, just a minute, let me see if I can. Melissa, can you try again?
can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna close out sponsorships on Friday for the anniversary event, but you can still buy tickets through May 1st. And then we had our advisory board meeting last week, so I appreciate everybody who attends those.
Good. Is that about it, Melissa?
I think that's about it.
You guys got any questions for her?
Nope.
Thank you, Melissa.
You bet.
EMS continued discussion.
Well, we had a decent meeting the other night with mayors.
Yeah, I'm still. Really? Yeah, that was quite a meeting. It was good to get that out on the table,
Yep, yep. I mean, there's a couple of communities that are upset, but. And that's partially with it not being a county, getting a countywide service, which obviously that was up to the voters, but. They would like to see it go back to the ballot again, but. That's what we kind of told them that if it's gonna happen, it's probably gonna, the soonest would be next year. Right. So.
It'd be the
though.
best.
It surprised me, we had a couple mayors that didn't even know it was gonna be an ambulance service. You know,
And there were 3 missing
Yeah,
of 7.
yeah, there were 3 of missing of 7. And I did talk to one of the council members at the advisory, Winworth Bedford Advisory Board meeting the Wednesday night before. And said, you know, that tomorrow night we're having this meeting. And of all the council members that were there, nobody had even heard about it. One of those was an individual from Grafton, so I guess communication lines out there are just not flowing like it should.
Just not paying attention.
Right.
Yeah. But it was, yeah, it was,
Yeah, so I mean, it's. I don't know, they'd say it's. Gotta stay a topic, I guess, throughout the county for a while, but it's just gonna go the direction it's going now.
yep.
That's all that can happen.
Like the one mayor suggested, you know, in 2 months, we definitely need to have another meeting with all of them. We gotta keep this thing rolling, figure out how we're gonna do this.
You know, start figuring it out.
Yeah.
So a year from now, we can maybe do something.
Right. Hope their good friend Jane can go down and
Find us money.
find us some money down there. Statewide problem, Jane.
It's a nationwide problem.
I know you're honest. Pick one from a different area, probably.
The appropriations chair doesn't want to spend any money.
Leave me that name and number. and
I'll leave you that name and number.
They just, the state didn't really give us a lot of ways to pay for this.
What?
They dump it on the same thing that they always do on property tax. So,
Nobody told me, isn't that what you asked for?
No, it was not for me. I was originally, that's my only reason I've been against it from the start is because it has no business going on property tax. I'm sorry.
and I was against that too, but on the other side of the coin, I decided that the citizens of Worth
Yeah.
County, at least,
It's a
I
tough
gave you a
decision.
chance to vote on it. That didn't work out so well. So,
We need it. We definitely need it. We just
yeah,
have
it's,
to fund it.
And whether, yeah, whether it's if the state can support it with money or get different funding mechanisms that they will allow us to do. You know, because right now we're just hooked on it. It's just,
What would you like, what other funding mechanisms?
well, I think it ought to be, by get rid of the county lines. Put it into districts. Everybody in that district's got a 911 number, y'all pay your fair share.
By landowner or per capita? Just the person.
It kind of needs to be per capita, but I still, I mean, I know where you're going there, because when you go per capita, you somewhat possibly eliminate some of the business. You know, how do you still tax the casino or vehicle? or- I totally get that.
As long as they
Some
live
people, yeah.
as long as they live in
here.
the county.
They don't live here.
No, I totally
Live somewhere
understand that. That's some people's questions that are raised when you bring that up is about how does casino pay the fair share? Well, basically, a lot of their employees live in the county, so they do pay. But
It's just an idea.
I mean, that
I'm
one,
sure, it's like every idea. There's always gonna be things out there that are gonna go, well, what are you gonna do about this? And what are you gonna do about that?
And if it did go on property tax, they would pay about $20,000 a year.
Right.
Maybe a little more than that.
right,
It's just bouncing ideas.
Throw that in on my roof or.
or that.
Yep.
When we get here, I will. Like,
I know.
No.
No. Yeah,
I know.
but it's a tough thing.
Yeah, well, we'll keep working on it.
Everybody wants an ambulance service. It's just. Well, I think that is, that left us in the 20th century.
Any ideas?
I got one other question, I'm kind of concerned this too, so the rates that insurance companies pay. Like with Medicare and Medicaid being the state is a part of that, the state set those rates?
Medicaid,
Okay,
nothing to do with Medicare,
okay,
just Medicaid.
Yeah.
and I think those rates haven't been touched in,
We just
Yeah.
had our budget increase for nursing homes, mental health reimbursement. Remember exactly what's in there, but especially nursing home, they were the biggest ones that are frustrated because. You know, the private pays are picking up the difference, and that's not fair to the private pays.
Right.
But they were losing money on Medicaid, so we've increased that by quite a considerable amount of money. Now, that's gonna go over to the Senate, and I don't know what'll happen.
I don't think Medicaid rates on ambulance services have changed in decades.
Now, one of those is Medicare, doesn't pay much.
Right,
I
yeah,
flip those all the time.
yeah, yeah,
Would they say Medicare pays 404?
something. like
Medicaid
that.
pays very little.
Yeah, it's minimal,
Yeah.
very minimal.
We tried to up the rates on mental health reimbursement and dental. A lot of dentists won't take anybody on Medicaid because they lose too much money.
I think that's part of the scary
Sometimes
part.
once a month they have a,
Part of the scary
Free
part about EMS is as it gets pushed towards taxpayer funded, I look for that stuff to, I mean, I look for those rates to try to be lower between private pay and.
Yeah.
I really do. I look for them to yank money out of there as soon as everybody gets it. That's what,
who's gonna yank that money?
you'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I
Well, private insurance can kind of do what they
think
want.
it's lower the rates.
Well, they won't lower the rate, they'll just take the money away.
Hopefully, anyway.
Thank you for coming today, Jim.
They have to stay on.
And you spent the morning with us.
I'm going to 2 more supervisor meetings, so,
Okay.
you take advantage when you can.
Right.
People get rid of me, I'm not in Des Moines, I'll be here once, so.
All right, good.
Department head discussions. Anybody got anything? What's that?
You got a lot of mirrors.
Other than that, there isn't anything. We'll go to supervisor weekly. I had, we all had the Winworth Betco Executive Board meeting. Basically, we just went through the finances there. I did have, the Winworth Betco Advisory Board meeting, and there we decided to do that at the Viking Manor Center, or the Viking Activity Center. And everybody got to see that, so that was a good deal. We had a speaker there from Iowa State on rural housing readiness assessment, which is really good. And the city's getting involved there and using, there's grants available for them for housing, so they just have to engage. Then we had the EMS meeting, which was very enlightening. I'm still processing that meeting. And then I had North Iowa Children's Alliance, and we're still looking for a citizen board member. The one that is going to retire is still there doing it, but as soon as we can find somebody to replace her. And the biggest thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that the state has come in and they've eliminated the grant from North Iowa Community Action Organization, and they can no longer get that grant for the oral health program. So we need to figure out how to do oral health down the road for 0 to 5-year-olds. So that's a big concern of mine. And then we, of course, we gave the director a 4% wage increase too for FY24. Other than that, we all had the S&P rating call, and I thought that went really well. I thank everybody that was in here that showed up to that and helped us get through that. And then I met with Myron Lucas on the bike trail. And where he just wanted to know where I stood on it. And like I told him, I think it's great to put a bike trail between Fertile and Hamlintown, and you pretty much got grants to take care of it all. I just don't want it to drop back on the county's lap. And I brought that out on that one draft that they put together, where if the county takes on an employee to help handle that, that then we would automatically just take it over from the municipalities, and I'm against that. So I had a long conversation with him. AJ.
Oh, I had the Winworth Betco meeting as well. Also sat in on the EMS meeting with the mayors. Good, interesting discussion. There'll be more to come on that, I think, in the future. And then the rating call also was a very good experience, and I think that went very, very well too. So that's what I had this week.
Well, I think difference I had was Iowa Workforce Development Board, and we basically, our meeting was to. Question would be if we would be interested in absorbing one or two of the regions that are. Basically have dissolved. And myself and a couple others, I think are read on this. Why would we want to take on regions that are unhappy with what's going on when we're just still in the learning process, getting it figured out? I think our region's doing pretty good. We're just big enough now that we can kind of fund what we need to fund, and taking on more, I think, especially with supervisors in that district that are disenchanted as kind of word, they're not very happy with what's going on between the state and whatever. And it's, so we voted to say, no, we don't want them. So they'll have to figure something else out. That was what our meeting was about.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of stuff going on with that, and I wouldn't jump into that fire either, I
Nope.
guess, just if we can maintain and we're doing okay here, let's just stick with.
Kind of what most of us felt.
Jumping into a bee's nest.
Because then if we did merge, then we have to go back to the full damn process again and spend and rewrite the laws again, and basically it's like, no, we're not gonna. Sometimes.
Good. Anything that we need to add to the agendas here for the future? It looked to me like it was. Oh, Windworth Betco Advisory, July 19th. Or City at
That's
6
just you.
p.m.
That's just you.
Yeah, but don't you usually put it on there? Oh,
Just the one where y'all three.
The
there.
executive
Oh.
board.
I got the right one, right?
yeah, you got the right one in there. I just haven't noticed that one, so. Well, if that's the case, then I will recess the regular session until 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock. I will take a motion to open the public hearing. So
Second.
I have a motion, and a second to open the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Public hearing is open. This public hearing is on the sale of property at the I-35 Highway 105 lots. And prices got lowered out there. Is there anybody with any comments or questions on it?
In case anybody's wondering, the reason why the price got lowered is we received the grant from the WCDA. So we evenly are lowering the prices on those lots, hoping they'll sell.
Is there anybody on Zoom that has any comments or questions, or on the phone? Be out there. I'll repeat, is there anybody with any comments or questions on this resolution for the lowering of the price on the lots? If not, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
So
Second.
I have a motion, and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, public hearing is closed. I will reconvene the regular session. Resolution number 2023-10. Whereas it was proposed that Worth County offer for sale certain tracts of real estate described in resolution 2023-07. And whereas Iowa Code Section 331.361 requires that certain procedures are followed when disposing of the county's interest in real property. And whereas resolution 2023-07 set the time for a public hearing for April 17, 2023 at 9 a.m. And whereas the notice for said public hearing was published as required by the Iowa Code Section 331.361. And whereas the Worth County Board of Supervisors have decided to sell lots 1 through lot 11 of the top of Iowa Second Edition, Worth County, Iowa, for the following prices. Lot 1, $111,033. Lot 2, $141,255. Lot 3, $275,940. Lot 4, $223,000. $380,000, lot 5, $262,800, lot 6, $343,242, lot 7, $91,980, lot 8, $72,270, lot 9, $75,555, Lot 10, $78,840, and lot 11, $42,705. Be it resolved that after a public hearing on the proposed sale of county property as required by sections 331, 361, and 331, 305 Code of Iowa, the Worth County Board of Supervisors voted to sell the above described real estate for the prices listed. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 2023-10?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Is there any further discussion on it? Roll call vote. Smeby,
Aye.
Stone,
Aye.
Lowberg, aye. Resolution is duly adopted. Oh. And that is everything we have on our agenda for today. So I will take a motion. Oh, no, hold on a second here. Bouncing all over.
You're doing good.
Hi, Elizabeth.
You want to go early? We have no problem with it. So
All
we
right,
have Elizabeth here.
that's there. Covered on a book. Okay, lots and lots of changes, lots of different things for this fiscal year. Gonna be some more for next fiscal year too. So this is the audit report for the fiscal year ended June 30 of 2022. Just a reminder, the audit is not designed to find fraud or errors or irregularity. The audit is designed to opine on whether or not the financial statements are fairly presented. We also do a little bit of compliance testing along with the audit. The state auditor's office provides us with a compliance guide, kind of gives us some things that they want us checking every year, some things that they want us checking every other year, some other things that kind of throw in for fun. So we can just go ahead and we'll go through the book and hit the highlights. Let me know if you have questions. The first page we're going to stop on is page 2, and it's on Gardner and Company letterhead. It's the independent auditor's report. It does look a little bit different than it has in prior years. We were required to implement some new auditing standards this year, which required us to change the look of the report. It also required us to go ahead and document our independence, both in fact and appearance from the county, from the beginning of the engagement up until the issuance of the audit report. So, there's very specific things we have to do to maintain our independence. Or sometimes when Jackie will call and ask a question and we're not able to go ahead and answer, we're able to direct her to the answer, but we can't say, do it this way, because that's making a management decision. So we have to comply with some strict independence. So we did have to go ahead and do that, and we had to document that. Also new this year, we have to document in our report whether or not we feel that Worth County is going to be able to continue as a going concern for the next 12 months. So we're taking a look at those ending fund balances, your net position, and having discussions, to make sure that you're still going to be able to do business in the coming year. So, and that information is also documented in this audit report. Again, the audit is based on tests and samples. We don't look at every single transaction that goes through the county during the fiscal year, and we opine based on that. Same goes with the compliance and internal control testing that we do. The findings are based on tests and samples. We don't look at every single transaction that might have impacted the findings. So on page 2, the independent auditor's report gives the opinion right there on front and center. For the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022, we have issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is what you want to hear. That means that we believe that the financial statements are fairly presented. Now, during the course of the audit, we did come across some adjustments that needed to be made. So proposed adjusting journal entries were made by the county to make sure that those transactions were properly recorded in the financial statements. So again, this letter just goes ahead and details all that out. Management's discussion and analysis starts on page 6. And this just goes ahead and gives some financial highlights for the year. It also talks about what's included in this book. County budgets on a cash basis. So we present a budget to actual cash financial statement. We also present the modified accrual and the full accrual financial statement. So really there's 3 separate sets. And then we provide reconciliations on how to get from cash to the modified accrual to the full accrual. So again, 3 sets in there. The rest of the management's discussion and analysis is just a chance to talk about what happened during the year. It has some comparative information, talks about what you did for budget amendments during the year, talks about what you were looking at when you set fiscal 23 budget. So that kind of sums up what that management's discussion and analysis is. The actual financial statements then start on page 14. And again, we do have 3 sets. The first that you're gonna see is the full accrual financial statements, which include your capital assets and your liabilities. So this is most likely what you would see in the private business sector. So we have a statement of net position, which is Exhibit A, and that would resemble a balance sheet that you would see out in the private sector. And Exhibit B then is the statement of activities, which modeled after an income statement that you would see in the private sector. Some things that have changed kind of for this year. In the past, you have always reported a net pension liability for your IPERS. Well, for the fiscal year that we're reporting on, IPERS had a really, really good year. And so they ended up being funded over the 100% mark. So instead of showing a net pension liability for this fiscal year, we're showing a net pension asset. So it'll be interesting to see what the reporting period looks like for next year. But for this year, you've got, a little over $1.2 million on there as an asset for that. So kind of, like I said, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. So then Exhibit B, 16 and 17, that's your statement of activities or your income statement. The county did see an increase in the net position, except for the business type activities. And that, that's something I want to talk about when we talk about findings too. The business type activities actually had almost $100,000 loss for this fiscal year, and that's your water and wastewater. And part of that is due to those rates not changing. That's something that when those districts were established, those rates were supposed to be reviewed and updated every year. And we've been doing this audit 6 years and the water and sewer rates have not changed. So, now we're getting to have more and more expenses, things are more expensive. And so, you're seeing a more significant hit on that fund balance because those rates are not changing. So, I really encourage you to be looking at that during this fiscal year and adjust the rates. And also, if you're adjusting those rates yearly and the increases are going up a little bit, people aren't going to be as upset as if you have to take one big dump 6 years down the road. So
Our engineers have that, and we were supposed to be meeting with all the owners out there here shortly to get those rates changed.
adjusted.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It will be done next year. It
Okay.
will be done soon.
Okay. Okay, so then Exhibit C and Exhibit E are the modified accrual financial statements. They do not include capital assets or the related debt. This resembles the GAAP report that Jeff is required to file with the Department of Management. So this kind of gives you the snapshot, with the 60-day accrual period. We do present several major funds, and then we also have the non-major funds that are aggregated and presented together for both your balance sheet and your statement of changes. So again, mirrors the GAAP report submitted to the Department of Management, so we include it here as well. And then Exhibit G and F are the reconciliations on how you step through to get from the modified accrual financial statements to the full accrual. So that just kind of documents that process. Exhibit G, H, and I are for your proprietary funds, and here we present your wastewater and water funds, and then also your health insurance. So again, there's a balance sheet, there's a statement of changes, and there's a statement of cash flows with that. So again, you can see the effect that the rates are having for you. Health insurance is a hard thing to budget for. The rates have been all over the place. So, you guys have a positive net income for that. So it was a successful year, but again, the rates have been all over the place. So that's kind of makes it difficult for you to budget going forward. But again, for this fiscal year, everything is looking pretty good. Exhibit J and K. Those are for your custodial funds, and the custodial funds are the funds where you collect the taxes and then you remit them. So it's like your schools, your corporations, your townships, also your assessor is in there. So the county acts as a fiduciary agent for those funds. So Exhibit J shows a snapshot of where the balances were at June 30th, and Exhibit K shows the ins and outs for that fiscal year. So that brings us to the notes to the financial statements, and I'm going to skip through the majority of these unless someone has a specific question on them. It goes ahead and the notes talk about your significant accounting policies and procedures. There's a lot of accounting terminology and definitions, amortization schedules for your debt. There's some more information about the pension liability. We get 5 pages of actuarial information that we're required to include in the report for the pension liability. There's also a couple pages of actuarial information for the other district benefits liability. So that's all included in there. We talk about your insurance, both your liability insurance and your employee health insurance. We talk about the closing out of the mental health fund. You know, that was something new for this year too. So note 14 on page 60 shows that where that mental health fund was closed out and zeroed out with the remaining funds remitted to your region. Also on page 60, we talk about the accounting change with the implementation of GASB statement number 87 for leases. You approved a policy on the right to use lease assets, setting the threshold at $50,000. So if you are entering into a lease agreement above that threshold, then we'll be seeing that reporting. For this fiscal year, there weren't any leases that met that threshold, so we didn't have to do anything. We didn't have to adjust any balances moving forward. On page 61, we have the opioid litigation settlement. That's new this year as well. The opioid litigation was finally settled. Those parties are going to be making payments for the next 17 years. So we have to go ahead and set up a special revenue fund for the collection of those fees. It's very specific what you're able to spend that money on. So, but you will be collecting those dollars over the next 17 years. So we have a no disclosure about that. The next page, page 62, is the budgetary comparison schedule. And because the county budgets on a cash basis, we're required to go ahead and present this as well. The actual column is the actual cash in and out for your budgetary or for your governmental funds. The column that's titled less funds not required to be budgeted is your drainage to get to the net. And then we also present the original budget along with the final amended budget. And then we look at the variances. There are some large variances there, like with the capital projects line item, but as we all know, projects never progress the way you think they're going to, and Mother Nature always has different ideas than what we do. So you budget based on where you hope to be, and then Mother Nature changes your plans and you don't always have the projects progress the way that you want. So even though there are some large variances, they were able to be explained and there weren't any red flags identified with that analytical procedure. The pages after that, then there's some more supplementary information about the budget. There's also a 10-year county contributions to IFRS and an 8-year proportionate share of the net pension liability schedules that are required to be included. There's also some information required on OPEB. And that brings us to the supplementary schedules. Schedule 1 and 2 detail out those little funds of the county that are all presented as non-major in the front of the book. This is their chance to have the detail presented. So that is your governmental funds on schedule 1 and 2. 3 and 4 are the custodial funds, same thing. We're going ahead and aggregating and presenting it at the beginning of the book. This is the detail in the back. And then schedule 5 on page 79 and 80 shows the revenues by source and expenditures by function for the last 10 years. So we can kind of see the trends and analyze what the revenues and expenditures have been doing over the last 10 years. So that brings us to more Gardner and Company letterhead on page 81. This is the independent auditor's report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. And again, in addition to opining on whether or not the financial statements are fairly presented, we do some compliance testing as well. Again, it's based on tests and samples. We don't look at every single transaction that might have impacted this. And then we go ahead and present the findings based on the test work. So that leads us into the findings, which start on page 83. The first one is segregation of duties. It's an old friend. It's always going to be here in every single audit report I issue in the state of Iowa because you don't have enough staff to completely segregate the duties. And the record keeping and the custody of the assets isn't always entirely segregated. So we do go ahead and present this finding. The next finding is the preparation of full disclosure financial statements. Again, this is in 98% of the reports that we issue. It's because you don't have a CPA on staff to prepare the gap report and the full accrual financial statements with all of the footnote disclosures. So because we assist with that process, we go ahead and we have a finding included in the report with that. Now, with our new independence rules, we have to be really careful about that as well, because we are taking and accumulating the county's information. And then we go through a review process at the end where the financial statements have to be reviewed and approved by Jackie. So she's got to give her final approval. She makes all adjusting journal entries. We don't make anything. We can propose entries. We can't actually make them. So it's always up to the county. They always have the decision. They always have the control. And again, that's part of our independence process. So then at the end, we prepare the financial statements for them to the county who approves them and takes responsibility for them. So then we're able to issue the audit report based on that. The next finding then on page 84 is in regards to financial reporting. This year, there were material amounts of accounts receivable and opioid settlement amounts. With that opioid settlement, the state auditor's office did not release the information until December 20th of 2022. But yet it was supposed to have been included in the December 1st, 2022 gap report. So kind of hard to do when they didn't release the information until 20 days after those reports were supposed to be issued. So as a result of that, Department of Management did want the gap reports to be reworked and resubmitted, which we worked with Jackie. She's already got it done. So that all of those opioid settlement amounts are now properly included on the gap report as well as being included in the financial statements for this audit report. So, but that was kind of a bad deal, timing deal. So if they would have had that information available a little sooner, then would have been able to get that taken care of. On page 85, the next finding then is in regards to unauthorized payments. This is something I know we talked about right after it happened. There was a public health employee that made an unauthorized and unapproved payment to a credit card company for the statement balance from a county bank account that was maintained by the treasurer. Again, you know, she had access, she had the information for the routing and account number because of the grant process. You know, the public health gets a lot of grants, and so they have that routing and account number. She went ahead and used that information to make a payment. It didn't go through the claims process, you know, no authorization, no approval. She shouldn't have had authorization to be able to make payments from that account. She did come forward right away. I think she realized what she had done. And so we were able to handle everything. But again, because that happened and there was that breach of internal control, we have the finding in the report to reflect that. So, and again, I know we discussed it right after it happened, and encouraging stronger internal control, make sure that that doesn't happen in the future. The next finding talks about the ag land credit. There was a glitch with Tyler software where the ag land credit came in and never got recorded. And everybody I think knows how I feel about Tyler software. It is not my favorite. It shouldn't, the software shouldn't have allowed this to happen. But what happened is that ag land credit just hung out there. It never got posted, which meant it never got apportioned out to the entities. So when I looked for the general ledger, then at the end of the year, and we pulled it, there's nothing in that ag land credit line item for revenue because it never posted. The software just kind of grabbed it, held onto it, and kept holding onto it. But yet it showed as a reconciling item. So when Chad would go to do his, or when Jake would go to do his, I've seen Chad. You know, so when Jake went to do his reconciling items, you know, it showed it was there, but it never posted. So that amount did not get apportioned. So we did have to contact Department of Management on what to do with that. And they said, you know, we're past the end of the year. You know, they said they wanted to see a finding in the report in regards to it, and it'll all get apportioned out in fiscal 23. That's all you can do. But again, you know, it should have been something that the software didn't let you do. Something to look for. And, you know, that's something I talked with Amy about. I said, you know what's supposed to be in there, and you know the dollar amounts for those that are split into two payments. You know what it's supposed to be. I said, you know, we found out through this finding that you can't trust the software. So make sure you're running those reports at the end of the year and go ahead and check to make sure, you know, if you're supposed to have $500,000 in that line item, make sure that it's close to what you've got there. So, like I said, silly glitch with the software, and I guess going forward, we know not to necessarily trust it, and we'll just continue to verify. So, yeah. Okay, so the next finding that we have is in regards to the credit cards. And this is a hot topic in several of my counties that we are dealing with. Whether or not you should use credit cards, how, you know, detailed should the credit card policy be? Here's my take on it. I've had several of my conference boards and several of my public health boards and several of my 911 boards. They all want to have their own credit card policy. The guidance that we've received, in my opinion, on that is it's one county. You guys are all one county. At the bottom of the check, it says Jack Bakehouse, Worth County Auditor, on all of the checks, regardless if it's public health, the secondary road, doesn't matter. It's all Worth County. So, and it also makes things a lot simpler for the auditor's office, who is in charge of paying all those bills. So, you know, for all of the disbursement policies, whether it's credit card or refreshment policies, one policy for the county. Everybody follows it. No department is that much different with their business. So, one policy. Everybody's on the same page. It works. So for this particular finding that we had, you guys do have a credit card policy in place, and it's detailed. It specifically states what you can and cannot use the credit card for. So it's pretty clear cut. You can use it for a hotel, you can use it for, meals, you can use it for gas. It's pretty detailed. It specifically states what you cannot use it for. You cannot use it for personal purchases. You cannot use it for alcohol. There's no public purpose. You shouldn't be charging alcohol on your county credit card anyway. So for this test work, and again, based on tests and samples, my staff just goes ahead, they get a vendor history for all of the credit cards, and then they randomly select and they try to hit each department. So they're picking on everybody. We look at credit cards for all the different departments, and then we go ahead and report accordingly. So for this year, it was noted that the county paid sales tax on purchases made with the county credit card, and the county assessor purchased alcohol with the county credit card. Sales tax is kind of also a hot topic, and 99 counties, 99 different ways to do it. And it ultimately comes down to what the supervisors feel is appropriate. There are some counties that we deal with that say it's not worth it to try to have to take that tax exemption certificate everywhere you go. It's too much of a hassle. So they just go ahead and they call that a cost of doing business. It's included in their credit card policy that they will pay sales tax on purchases because they don't want to have to deal with the tax exemption certificates all the time. I have counties that say absolutely not. We're not going to do that. If the county doesn't make arrangements, or if the employee does not make arrangements for the tax, they have to pay the sales tax personally. It's not going to be an expense of the county. Ultimately, it's up to the supervisors and what you feel is appropriate. Make sure it's documented in your policy. Make sure everybody's aware of what you've decided is appropriate and proper public purpose, and then move forward with it. As far as the alcohol purchase, your policy specifically states you cannot do that. That's in violation of your credit card policy. So some credit card policies from counties and cities will have disciplinary actions that will be taken. If you violate this, 1 strike, 2 strikes, you're out. I've had counties that have taken away credit card policy or credit card privileges from employees because they misused credit card. Again, it comes down to the board of supervisors and what you feel is appropriate. And again, I realize that we're working with the Public Health Board, the Conservation Board, the Conference Board, the 911 Board, Emergency Management Board. You guys should all be on the same page. It's one county. You should all have the same information. You should all have the same, policy put in place. And something you should all be able to agree on and what you feel is appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we get into the statutory reporting findings. Again, this is Code of Iowa compliance. The state auditor's office provides us with the compliance side. There's some things we look at every year. There's some things we look at every couple of years. There's some things we look at every 5-10 years. There's some things we just throw in there for fun because we're bored. So the first thing we have is the certified budget. This is something we do look at every year. And we look at the disbursements by function and then also the functions by department. And so for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2022, we had disbursements that exceeded the amount budgeted in a capital projects function. This happened during the year. The budget was amended during the year to correct that problem. So that all went away. The second finding is in regards to questionable expenditures. We had some late charges that were noted. There's no public purpose for late charges, something that shouldn't be an expense incurred by the county. So we've got a finding reported in regards to that. On the next page, with the business transactions, the Code of Iowa identified $6,000 as the threshold for a potential conflict of interest unless certain steps are taken to go ahead and continue those transactions. We did have 2 vendors that were a related party that had transactions above the $6,000. But the proper procedures were followed, and so there is no finding associated with that. This is just a disclosure to let the public know that you are doing business with those related parties, but the related parties are not participating in the acquisition of the services, which makes it allowable. The next finding is in regards to the board minutes. That's at the bottom of page 89. The board went into closed session on August 17th of 2021 and September 17th of 2021. And the closed sessions, there were no minutes taken for those sessions. So even though It is a closed session. The Code of Iowa specifically dictates what you still need to maintain for records for those. So just making sure that those are all documented properly. Page 90, we have a deposit and investment. This is something we haven't looked at for a few years, and so we looked at it this year. And as far as I'm calling you Chad again. Last week, so I was there last week, so I'm talking about him. The investment policy just needs to have some verbiage updated to include chapter 12B and 12C of the Code of Iowa. So I can get you a sample, easy peasy. It just has to go through board approval and you're gonna be good to go. The other big thing is making sure that stamp drainage warrants are specifically listed as an acceptable investment. So easy one to fix. So the next finding then is tax increment financing. This has been a gray area for several years, based on who your TIF attorney has been. There has been a change, and so therefore, it's gotten a little stricter with what you can and cannot use your TIF dollars for. TIF can only be used to pay principal and interest on obligations that have been certified through the process to the county auditor. So during the fiscal year we were looking at, there were payments for attorney fees, legal fees, and debt fees that had been paid directly out of the TIF fund that had not been certified through the process. So if you're going to be using TIF dollars for those purposes, those amounts need to be certified through the process in December so that they're included on the TIF reconciliations and become official TIF obligations. So, so yeah, that hopefully will be taken care of now. The next finding then was financial position. We do have a fund balance with a negative, and that is the New Haven TIF. Again, it was due to an interfund loan that happened. And as that gets paid back, that's going to come into the black again. So that will take care of itself. The next finding is the Code of Ordinances. The Code of Iowa requires the Board of Supervisors to compile a code of ordinances and have it recodified every 5 years. So that's also something that you should be working on to hopefully get that cleaned up during this fiscal year, going through that process. The next finding is in regards to the assessor's budget. Disbursements during the year exceeded the amounts budgeted. This was something that Cindy knew about. There was a claim that was paid that probably, Cindy doesn't think it should have been. She contacted the vendor and they were able to do a refund. But the thing is, it got paid, so it caused the over expenditure. And again, because of your software, you weren't able to put that refund check back to that expenditure account. You weren't able to do a reimbursement. Other software systems have that option. Tyler version 10 does not, so it's still going to always show as the assessor was over her budget at the end of the fiscal year. And then the last statutory funding that we have on page 92 is an interfund loan. Interfund loans count as debt, so you're required to have your public hearings and jump through all the hoops, have the public notice, public hearing, jump through all the hoops as if it were a bond issuance. So that didn't happen when they entered into the interfund loan for Highway 105 truck. That loan's going to be paid back by the TIF fund, but needs to jump through all the hoops if you're going to issue debt that way. And that's the end of the report comments. There were also several smaller things that we discussed with the respective department heads or elected officials as we went through the audit process, but again, not significant enough to be included in the audit report. What do you have for questions, concerns, questions for me?
There's not a test over there. Could be.
There's a lot of stuff in there, so. But again, I open for discussion and a lot of the problems that are included in this report, it's not just your county. I'm having to deal with all of my counties and cities and try to get boards on the same page because ultimately it is one county. And you don't need to have 10 credit card policies for each, one for each department. You don't need to have 10 refreshment policies. You don't, and questionable expenditures is a real hot topic with our state auditor's office. And Rob Sand is our oversight. He's having us look for these questionable expenditures. He's decided that, meals are having refreshments at meetings. He doesn't think that that's appropriate. In prior years, the local boards were able to kind of decide what they felt was appropriate for public purpose. You know, he's kind of provided a little bit of insight on that and what he feels is appropriate. And again, he's our oversight, so he's passing that on down to us.
Anybody, any questions you got?
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah. Very good report.
No, I guess if we can,
If you need to bring a ruler next time and slap us on the hand, please do. Me, not me. I don't. that's my bad.
thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Have a good
Elizabeth.
day.
Now, is there anything else we missed here? Bouncing all around.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
So,
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, being adjourned.